Awesome. So, hi, I'm Max again, in for Andrew, and I am here with Jackie, who is an artist on TheGrove. So, Jackie, could you tell us a little bit about your TGP1 game?
Yes, it has been really fun making this game. It started off when we were just like, hey, how do you feel about setting our game in a forest? And it just slowly went from there. We got a lot of inspiration from Limbo.
Really?
Yeah, so we wanted to incorporate that very gray style, which is where like our spirit world came from.
Nice.
And so it was a fun like you could definitely over time see it evolve.
Nice. So when you say Limbo was an inspiration, was it an inspiration from a gameplay perspective, more of a style perspective?
We wanted to make sure it was like, we liked this side scroll where it was like mostly from the side point of view of the character and the harsh silhouette kind of feel, along with having it more of a puzzle type game.
Great. Can you describe the mechanics a little bit? Because our viewers can probably see the game on screen right now, but I have not had the pleasure of playing it. So could you describe a little bit about how the game is played?
Yes, you play as Kiki and Kodo. Kiki is a small little girl that lives in the Grove, and she lives with her spirit guardian, Kodo. And you go around collecting bell pieces that are scattered across the Grove, and it helps prevent evil spirits from like coming and wreaking havoc everywhere. So a lot of it is getting over obstacles, having both players kind of help one another, because you can only interact with each character in their world setting. So you go back and forth between like the mortal realm and the spirit
Very cool.
realm. Yeah, so you
Very
have
nice.
buttons to switch back and forth between the two to solve the puzzle.
And so I assume things that happen in one side of the world happen on the other,
Yes.
affect things on the other side of the world too.
Yes.
That's fantastic. So can you tell me a little bit about your team? Who all was involved in making this game?
Yes, we have Andrew, who is playing the game for you right now. He's one of our level designers, so he helped actually make some of the levels. And then Chifu Hung, he's also a level designer who also he helped with the sound and he helped creating. They were both very, very good level designers. I feel very blessed to have them. So there were moments where I was like, oh, this puzzle's really hard. I don't know how, and so we had to like, oh, okay. They're really, really smart. And then there was me and Logan Talbert. He was the other artist. He was also the game designer for the project, so helping us push us in the right direction.
Nice.
And then our lead, Justin. He was he was our producer and programmer, so he kind of wore two hats.
Very nice. Cool. You mentioned level design. One of our TGP games that we showed earlier today got this question. I think it's a great question to ask any puzzle game. Over the course of the process of designing this game, has it been difficult to strike a balance between difficulty and engaging gameplay?
Yes, it is so hard to find that balance because you're like, oh, you have to always find that sweet spot between is it too difficult and frustrating to you don't want to make it too easy and they just like this isn't hard anymore, but you want to find that nice little sweet spot where it's still fun and challenging, but you're not wanting to throw your tablet across the room.
Of course.
So yeah, it definitely was a difficult process. I would have to say, believe it or not, some of the hardest things to make are the tutorial levels.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, how do I want to make this advanced enough to where, you're not treating the player like, how do you say it? Like they won't understand it. So you want them to feel smart when they're playing, but you don't want to make it too difficult where they can't catch on to the concepts of the mechanics.
Definitely. So as you worked to refine those tutorial levels and found that balance, what did you and your team do to solve that problem?
Sometimes it was switching around the levels. We're like, oh, like we would give it to a playtester and they're like, okay, level 3 is a lot easier than level 1. So it was a lot of refinement over time of like going, okay, maybe we don't need this little aspect of the game. Maybe like there used to be a lot of backtracking. Like like you had to get something on this side of the screen and then go all the way back, and that kind of cut into, wait, I can go back And so we're like, oh yeah, we should probably make it to where you don't have to do that, which really helped cut into making it a more fluid gameplay.
Very nice. So overall, is this your first game project that you've done?
Yes, this is actually my first game I've ever made. So it's kind of like when you create your first child. You're just like, oh, you don't want anyone to hate it. You want everyone to love it. You're just, people say something to you and it's, you know, they're trying to help you and critique it, but at the same time you're like, don't take it personally.
Definitely. So it sounds like the overall process of learning to make this game at Guildhall has been a positive one.
It has been amazing. Like, I remember just thinking, I have no idea how all this works before coming here. And I had very little digital knowledge or anything like that. I'm a traditional artist. So it was interesting coming in and like, oh, tablet, okay. We'll see how, it's not a pencil or a pen or, you know, charcoal or anything like that.
Right.
But it was a really cool transition to see how that went and making this game and figuring out how all those things worked. It was like, oh, so now you like go to other games and you're playing them and you're like, that's how they did that. And some people are like, oh, it destroys the magic. No, it doesn't for me. I was like, see, for me it's like, oh, now I know I can help create magic for other people.
Gives you a whole new appreciation for everything you play.
Yeah. I'm like, I was watching a game the other night and I was like, oh my gosh, someone had to create all this grass. Or I will think, oh my goodness, how many maps did they use to make this one item?
Yeah,
so it's,
definitely.
Yeah, it was definitely total, like everything switches in your brain when you're like now playing a game. But it doesn't take away from the enjoyment.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I've got one more question for you before we move on to our next event, and that is for anyone who might be watching who is unfamiliar with game development or is interested in getting into it. What would you say to someone considering Guildhall or a similar program or just trying to get into games in general?
Getting into games in general. Oh, know your stuff a little bit. I would have to say, know what you're passionate about and make sure this is something you really want to do. I actually, like for instance, me, even though I say I'm a traditional artist, my undergrad is actually in business.
Wow, that's quite a transition.
Yeah, so I actually went back to school for a semester just to study art before coming here to develop my portfolio. Make sure you look at the portfolio far in advance and don't do it at the last minute. So, which is very helpful. The teachers here are super understanding and very helpful. But yeah, know what you're passionate about, look to see what it takes to get it done, and go from there, because gaming is a passion. It's not something you just, oh, I'm going to come in today and I'm going to do my job. You have to have a passion behind it and you have to love what you do.
Great.
So.
Well, thank you so much, Jackie, for sharing
it was a pleasure
with us, and thank you for sharing your game. So before we pass it on to our next event, stay tuned for Heroes of the Storm, hosted by Wilson. But that is not the only fantastic event we have for you tonight. We also have a silly Super Smash Bros. Melee event, and we have a Hearthstone Fireside Gathering to top us off tonight. So please stay tuned and check out the donation link below. We are still going to be raising money all weekend to benefit Children's Health Children's Medical Center. It's for a fantastic cause, and we can't possibly accomplish our goal without your help. So please consider donating. So for now, I'm going to pass it off to Wilson, and he is going to kick off Heroes of the Storm.